because everybody's personality is so different, right? And so every time that you think about, okay, if you can respect somebody, respect their time, respect what it is that they're doing, and don't try and come in telling them what to do. Like, I'm not going to tell a developer, I know that this is going to take this amount of time for you to do. You can get yourself in trouble. You're going to get yourself in a whole lot of hot water because you don't know. So if you can respect that and honor them for that, they honor you then back, right?
The best way to support the Work and Play podcast is by subscribing to the YouTube channel and by going to your favorite podcast player to subscribe and rate the Work and Play podcast. That's all you have to do. So if you are liking the Work and Play podcast, the content, the stories that we're sharing, and you know that this will help someone, go ahead and share the content to someone who could actually use it and help them on their journey to transition from corporate into entrepreneurship. Now let's get back into the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Young, and today I have a really cool peer of mine, someone we've been growing in the same community together.
Yes.
And you made your transition out of corporate America. Now we touched bases on the day you left your job.
I do remember.
And since then, I don't even know how many months it's been, so we have to catch up on that.
It's been a year, actually.
Jeez, Louise. So first of all, how do you introduce yourself to the people?
So I basically, I'll say that I'm a car broker, because that's ultimately what I do. I have my license in brokerage, and so I buy and sell cars for individuals, mostly on the scale of individuals that want to get into the Turo business or the Uber, selling cars on hire car and things like that. I help with that situation.
Gotcha.
So, assist them in getting their vehicles. And then, there's so much other things involved with all that. But that's basically what I do. So
you're the middleman for any car business or small business owners or customers in the car that they want?
Customers in the car that they want. So, we have a system right now where, somebody can call in and say, okay, I'm looking for this type of car. We provide them with a questionnaire, and then from there, we'll help them to find a car through the auction, right? Because I have the dealership license, so there's almost 150 auctions that you can go to find wholesale prices on cars. Yeah. I've also set myself up where you can get financing. So quite honestly, you can bypass the whole experience of a dealership and work with a broker and still get the same experience in terms of financing, finding the car that you need, all that stuff.
Can they get a better price on a car?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So by working with someone, because a lot of times the stigma that comes with working with like a middleman is that you guys will add your fee onto it. So are the prices so low that you can still create like a low price, or
yes.
How does that work?
So and granted, I know that as a dealer or as a customer working in a dealership, you think that they do jack up the price a whole lot, and in some instances they really do. Like in some instances they really just get out of control with it. But there's a lot of times where there's other variables or factors that need to be considered, and so they don't really have a choice if they want to see a profit in what it is that they're doing, right? So when you're working with the finance company will charge you a certain fee, and then you get the auctions that's charging you a fee, and there's just so many other things that come into play that it's not just you purchasing a car and them slapping on fees, right? So, but with a broker, first of all, you're not, the fees are not as much, right? So you can kind of, you have a little bit more leverage. You have a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Flexibility. To
like add the fees, or maybe you don't have to go through all of the processes that a dealer would. You can kind of go to the source where all of those fees that exist don't in your business.
Correct.
That's awesome.
So it makes it a little bit more cost effective. And plus, so I'm buying wholesale, and all I'm doing is giving you like maybe my fee that I charge, and then the fee that the finance company would charge if you're going to finance. In a dealer space, they're charging you for their fee and the admin fee and the bank fee, and so there's quite a few little variables that they have to charge, right, in some instances. And so it's a little bit, I think it's more beneficial to work with a broker. But in everything you have to do your due diligence to make sure that the broker that you're working with is not trying to be a big franchise dealer, right? Because they know that they can be.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
You know a lot about the financing part of like the process, and I'm sure and how long have you been in the car business?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you learned a lot about like just the business in the 3 years.
Yes.
But what was your like 9 to 5?
I was a project manager.
Project manager in the tech industry, right?
In the tech industry, I worked with LexisNexis for 7 years. 7 years.
Now, LexisNexis, that's who makes the Google phone, or is that the credit company?
It's a credit company.
Okay. How does that apply to the tech industry?
So we're big data before we're anything else.
Okay.
So we collect. I mean, the reason why we're a part of the company was credit is because they gather information about everything. Like it's almost a little scary how much information that they do have. But as a result, they're able to parse that data out to feed into different things. Mm-hmm. So they weren't just a credit company. They worked with the insurance company, worked with healthcare, they work with government because they house data. That's initially what they do. Then they sell the data to the individuals that need to be sold to.
So the technological capabilities that allow you guys to collect that data, disperse the data, sell the data, that's the part you were in. So in terms of project management, what were some of like the top projects that you worked on when you were still 9 to 5?
So there's a thing called telematics, and that's in the insurance space. And so with telematics, it basically says your car, how quickly you're driving, what it is that you shouldn't be doing, you should be doing, and that was the data that we provided. As LexisNexis, we provided that to the insurance companies, and so we worked on that. When I started working with LexisNexis, we worked on that, and then we brought it over to Brazil and to India and to these other large, companies or large countries that weren't necessarily equipped for it. So we started that process and said, okay, we'll help you get through it. We'll help you to do it so that you can now charge more for insurance or charge accurately for insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the pretty much the major project that I worked on outside of internal aspects. Like, I would say that's probably the major is that telematics piece.
I got you. When I think of project management, there have been many times that I said I was going to get my PMP because I love organization. Matter of fact, in my last company, it seems like it didn't matter what you did because it was cross-functional. You felt like a project manager in everything that you did. When it comes to you kind of being suited for the project management role, what did you love most about it? And then what were you like, or did you? Was there anything that you didn't like about it?
Oh, I loved my job.
Really?
I really did. I loved the people that I worked with in LexisNexis. My director is the epiphany of directors. I promise you. I learned so much under her leadership. And being a project manager teaches you how to become a leader, right? Because you have, and when you don't have any necessary. You have to lead people, manage people, but you don't have the title of manager, right? So you're the project manager, you're leading the project, but you're not leading the people, right? So you have to learn how to maneuver and get these people to do what you want to do, even though you're not the one that's managing them, right? And so, it took. Scale, girl, scale.
I can imagine.
Scale. Because everybody's personality is so different, right? And so every time that you think about, okay, the one thing I will say is this. If you can respect somebody, respect their time, respect what it is that they're doing, and don't try and come in telling them what to do. Like, I'm not going to tell a developer, I know that this is going to take this amount of time for you to do. Mm-hmm. You can get yourself in trouble. You're going to get yourself in a whole lot of hot water because you don't know. So if you can respect that, and honor them for that, they honor you then back, right?
Are you still trying to get a leg up on your entrepreneurial career? Now, I told you about the Morning Meetup, the community that was created for the betterment of entrepreneurship. And we are cooking up some really cool things. Now, here's the thing. If you join today, you can actually get in for 60% of the original price. So if you join today, all you have to do is download the app, and I provided the link below so that you can join us. We have community, we have a book club, and it's the largest group that meets every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. to literally get a head start on entrepreneurship. So if you're still trying to grow, you don't know what your business is going to be, but you know you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the community for you. So check out the Morning Meetup, click the link below, download the app, and join us today.
So, if they're saying, okay, it's going to take me umpteenth amount of time to do this, I'm now going to be the guard between them and the business being the individuals that want to see that project complete. I'm going to be that center person that says, hey, wait a minute, back up. I know you want this done, but this is my people and this is what they need in order to be able to complete their job, right? So, that was my forte, is getting people to like me enough and trust me enough to actually do what I tell them to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, you have your times. You have the times where you have to escalate, where you have to get above, the manager's head and get to the top in order to get things done. But, it really gave me the ability to execute, to manage, to get things done. Because as a project manager, you have to get things done. Yeah. If you don't get things done and the project doesn't get completed, they're looking at you.
Yeah.
Even though you don't have the title, you have all the responsibility.
Absolutely. And the project being on time, getting things done, or even
within
being
budget.
Bubbled up, exactly.
Yes.
Lays on you. Now, you love the job, and I remember us talking about what it is that you're building. And that's the exciting part about it. And as much as you love the role, you still decided to move on.
I did.
So what was it in you that decided to motivate you to move forward?
I remember being a kid around 10 years old. My mom was a boss. We even talked about this just recently. I said she owned 3 hairdressing salons, and wow. She was a boss. And I remember thinking to myself, yep, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And ever since then, everything that I've ever done in life has been to be an entrepreneur. So when I went to school for business. When I took my first job, it was a human resource manager. In human resources, I wasn't the manager. And it was just to learn how to deal with people. And then when I decided to, pivot to project management, well, there was a whole bunch of stuff I've done in my lifetime, but that was my major pivots. It was to learn how to be a leader. Learn how to manage people, learn how to manage a budget, those type of things, all pertaining to entrepreneurs. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when I saw the opportunity take flight, I said, yeah, this is it. It's time.
What was the opportunity?
So my cousin was living with me and her daughter were living with me at the time. And I had said, I need to start figuring out what I need to do to really start my business, right? Because I knew that it was really something that I wanted to do. So when they moved out, I said, well, the house, I have a 3-bedroom townhouse. What am I going to do now, right? So I said, okay, well, let me downsize. I'm going to move into a 2-bedroom, rent out the bedroom, the townhouse, let it pay for itself. I'll figure it out. And my girlfriend stopped and said, no, you should rent out your house, stay in your house, and do it that way. So at the time, I had already got an apartment, and down to downsize. And when she said that, she was like, rent it out to travel nurses.
Yes.
It's like,
that's cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I put it out there. Sure enough, I got two travel nurses. They were actually, I put it in Airbnb. So at first they weren't travel nurses, and then I, started to market my place perfect for travel nurses, so that it would attract those individuals. Mm-hmm. And it's worked out wonderfully. So
You're once
oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah, because I mean, it just once the room started renting out, I was like, as long as my mortgage is good, I'm good. Let's go. So, and then I've been doing Turo for a long time before Turo was a thing, right? So I was doing it just as like a side thing while I was working. It was extra cash for me to do whatever I want to do, travel, whatever. Yeah. And I was bringing in about $2,000 a month with Turo.
That's not bad. One car?
Two
cars.
So I was like, yeah, let's get back on Turo. So I bought a couple of cars, put my cars on Turo. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, yeah, I'm in a real good position here. So now I'm like, okay, I've handled those things and made myself feel secure, because ultimately when you're in a full time and you're getting your 9 to 5 and you're guaranteed your 2 weeks and all that other stuff, it's a false sense of security. It's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. So, but I had to get myself back that security somehow. And so that was it for me. I was like, okay.
Yes. I oftentimes say that we as humans, we can't disregard the fact that we value security.
Yes,
and
especially women. You know, we need it. Like I'm going to tell you, I need to know that at the end of the day, my bills are paid and I'm okay.
Yeah. So
then I'll go out and jump and do whatever else I need to do.
Exactly. Because life allows, when you are secure, life allows you to explore the things that you really, truly want. A lot of times, I think we try to not listen to that sense of security. We feel like to be entrepreneurs, we have to risk it all and just live on the edge. It's like, no, you can actually be really cool as an entrepreneur and have your sense of security.
Yes.
So I think that's really dope that you took heed and decided to do what's best for you.
Yes, I absolutely needed to have. Because even though I was so entrepreneurial minded, I didn't realize how fearful I was. Because I really was. And my significant other was like, what do you, like, you know, you keep on talking about this every day. What are you waiting for? And I was like, I don't know.
What do you think you were afraid of now that you look back on it?
Now that I look back, I think it was just security. I really was just, you know, being in a 9-to-5, I was making 6 figures. I didn't want anything. I didn't really need anything, right? Because everything, my mortgage was getting paid for. I was making enough, right? To do whatever it is I wanted to do. And if I wanted anything extra, like I told you, jumped on Turo. Yeah. And it wasn't a major thing. But as my purpose started to get clear, I said, I can't do this and really fulfill my purpose, right? I want to see my parents live the life that they weren't necessarily able to live when they were younger. Now that they're older, I want them to be comfortable, you know? And ultimately, I don't have any children. And I struggled with that for a long time. But then I realized that God's purpose for me is to make sure that for the individuals that you know, those kids that are out there that need a parent or a family, I can provide that for them, right? So, you know, he had told me a long time ago, and I say he, you know, my creator, my God. I felt like we'd had a conversation before, and he said, you know, you are going to be a mother of many, right, of generations to come. And so one of the things I decided was I was going to create a community, and my community was going to have these children, these foster kids that in between the time that, like, you know, after a while they phase out of the system, right? And so when they phase out of the system, they have nowhere to go. And so I said, yeah, my community is going to be for those kids, right?
Wow.
Put them in a place where they're loved and they're taken care of and they feel safe until they are really able to go out on their own, because they've been through so much.
Yes. I think so many children, people are on this earth with a lack of parenting and no guidance and haven't had that time to breathe. Yeah. Because once you age out of the system at 18, you are required to contribute to the society like everyone else, and you don't have the tools.
Never taught, don't understand what to do next. You know, all you're just, all you know is survival. Yeah. Right? So now what?
Yeah.
So my purpose, my goal is to make it so that these kids really have a good footing so that they can be true individuals to society and make something of themselves. Because I feel like it's the foster system, unfortunately, it doesn't build, especially our community.
Yeah.
Right?
How did you identify this population? Did you experience foster care yourself?
I didn't. I just wanted to become a foster parent. Actually, I still think about adopting. And so as I went through the process and, you know, realized what it entailed and the kids and everything, I was just like, yeah, that's where my heart went. And I was like, yeah, they need somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that when we live in abundance, you know, we're able to give from abundance.
Yes.
A lot of foster parents are barely scraping by as it is.
Yeah.
And but the ones who really have a lot to give, those are those kids that come out and the foster parent is the parent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's beautiful that you identify, like, this is an area you can give back. When it comes to, like, you identifying your purpose, while you were still in your 9-to-5, like, what was it that revealed to you what your purpose was?
I think it was really just me wanting to be a parent and not, you know, things happened and I wasn't able to become one, and it just was eating at my heart. Like, you know, this is, you have to think that even though you are not going to be able to birth a child, you can still be a parent, right? And so that was where I started. And then, as time progressed and I decided to leave my job, I was like, yeah, this is definitely your purpose. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So it's something that's necessary, and I feel like it's something that I can do. So why not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So purpose-wise and spiritually, giving back in that way is definitely meaningful. But as we talk about like stability in America, capital and capitalism is still alive and well. So entrepreneurially, when you decided to leave your role, what was it that you said, okay, I am building this thing?
What was it? I don't really know. I just knew that something needed to be done. And I remember having multiple conversations with friends and stuff, and I'm just like, that there's something out there that needs to be done. And instead of getting uncomfortable, because that's what it is, it's discomfort. It's like I'm so comfortable doing what I do now that just even trying to imagine doing something else, it just doesn't, you just don't want to do it. Right? It's just like, yeah, I know that this needs to happen. I know that, there's kids out there that are needed, or that there's homeless people that need help or whatever. I know. And it's that but that I was just like, I don't want to be that but anymore. I don't want to use that word anymore. I don't want that, because I feel like it's after that it's excuses.
Yeah.
Right? And so though it was a big, huge leap for me, and still very scary. Like, don't get me wrong, even though I've managed to provide some sense of security, it's still an entrepreneurial game, right?
Absolutely.
And you're still out there, and there might be a real bad month, or you're like, okay, so the rooms didn't get rented, right? The cars didn't get rented the way they should. Okay, what now? And it's just that faith that I have, that I believe that, okay, so now that he put me out here, dropped it in my spirit that this is my purpose, and he put me out here, he's not about to just say, oh, now yo, figure it out, you know? And so we have talks every single morning, me and the Lord, have conversations just about, okay, what's my next step? What do you want me to do today? Right? How do I progress and make the right choices? Help me. Because I can't do this on my own. I know that I can't do this on my own.
Right. I
know that there's something bigger, higher, more powerful than me. And so I got to tap into it. And so as an entrepreneur, I feel like my relationship with him has definitely grown tremendously, because now I'm just like, I can't do this by myself.
It sounds like what you are describing in terms of like what you're building and what you decided to leave corporate for is social entrepreneurship. Am I hearing that correctly? Because you wanted to create a organization for foster young people?
Yes.
So
it's like I want to create housing, right? So that the community that I'm thinking about, or that I'm envisioning, will have these children be in a housing format where they now learn how to, build, grow, pay bills, all those things. And we put them in that housing format for, a year, or at least until we feel comfortable the way they can go out and do it on their own, and get them, job training and all that. And then, have them be able to do it on their own while they're learning within a loved and guided safe community place. In a safe place.
How far along are you in the process?
It hasn't started yet. But it's like, I truthfully believe that it will happen at the right time. Every time I tell somebody about my community, they're like, oh, wait a minute. So like, I was telling this one guy about it, and he was like, oh, so it's like The Walking Dead. And I was like, I didn't really think about it that way, but yes, okay.
In what way?
So I don't know if you know The Walking Dead, but there's a portion of it where they start to build this big, huge community where everybody is in that community, and they feed off of the land, and there's houses within this community. Everybody has their own home, because I guess there was a developer that decided, okay, we're going to build this community. And so within The Walking Dead, there's like all of these individuals that come together as one community, and they whoever's strong at whatever they're best at, they pitch in and they do what they need to do, right? To build this community.
That's beautiful.
Right? And so that's ultimately, I want my family to be close, you know, so everybody have their own home or whatever. And I want to be able to, you know, have us help those kids.
I love it. So let's go back. When you were like growing up, like what did you think you were going to do when you grew up? What was the idea of success?
Idea was to own my own company. I mean, you know, I'm the oldest of 16 children. No, 10. Sorry,
oldest
16.
Of 10 children?
It's my grandmother. No, I'm the oldest of 10.
Okay, your grandmother's oldest of 16?
My grandmother had 16 children. I'm the oldest of 10. And so, you know, we're all entrepreneurial minded, all of us, or the majority of us. And so it was just always a thing. You know, and like I said, I always saw my mom doing her thing. My dad has always had that spirit, but he's been with General Motors for 40 years, right? Mm-hmm. So outside of that, he's always, you know, thinking about something different. And so I believe that I picked up both of their personalities, and it's just driven me to be this person that, you know, wants to own something and call it my own and know that I built it from scratch and I did what I needed to do to make it successful.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
So you grew up with a mom who was entrepreneurial and a dad who was like a corporate-preneur. Like he worked at a company. Was he more so on
he was on the management side.
Management side, that's what I was going to ask. So when you think about like your choices and like at the point where you were running your 9-to-5, had Turo, or 2 cars on Turo, why not stay and build a business while you were still in your 9-to-5?
It was taking up too much time. So one of the things that I didn't mention before was that I started creating a platform while I was working, right? Okay. And it's a platform for independent dealers to be able to sell their cars online. And so
what's it called?
It's called Chrome, CROME. And so it's car buying made easy. It just came to me one day and I was like, yeah, that's it. So you know, as a woman dealer, I found that it was very unsafe, right? People just meeting you wherever because you don't have a lot, right? There's different ways to be dealers, and one of them is just owning an office space and brokering, right? Mm-hmm. Where you just, you know, you meet people, you show them a car, and you sell it. Mm-hmm. And so in that space, sometimes it's not the most safe. And so initially my thought process was, you know, I need to make this more safe for women, not just myself.
Wow. So
that's when I started my platform. And so, yeah, the platform is almost done. And, but during that time that I was doing it, it was taking up a lot of time and a lot of work. And I was like, I got to make a choice. Well, my platform has got to be it. And so I said, well, let me get my security first, and then I got to go.
It's funny that we got to go back to making it safe for women. Like, what told you, what was the evidence or what was the experience that made you turn your attention to women?
Well, there's not a lot of women in the space, and it's a very male-dominated industry. Mm-hmm. My cousin was the first one actually that became a dealer, right? And she had me work under her as a dealer, and so I got the taste of it. And then we both realized, we're like, there's not a lot of women in this space at all. And then as I started to sell cars and put myself in very uncomfortable situations, I was like, yeah, I'm sure that the little of us, the few of us that are out here are probably in the same situations in some instance or another. Mm-hmm. How can I make it better?
What type of situations made you feel uncomfortable?
Like, I have an office space, right? And so I would meet somebody in front of the office. By the time they get there, sometimes it would be dark. Mm-hmm. I have to now drive with them in a car to do the test drive, and then come back and then bring them up to my office. And I was like, yeah.
Putting yourself into a harmful place.
Yeah, sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, even you know, you book a time at 4:00. If they're late, well, daylight savings time. Yeah. By the time they get there, 5:00, sun's going down, right? So it's like, you know, a lot of times people would say, well, no, just give them the keys and let them drive. You have their information and stuff. But I've heard of situations where people drive away with their car regardless, right? They can give you fake ID. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just thought there has to be a better way, right? Why not try it this way? So I built the platform.
So And forgive me if I'm like asking questions that you've already answered.
No, that's
now
fine.
that you have the platform, how does it mitigate the situation where someone is having to meet the dealer?
Because now everything happens online.
So you exchange the car. You don't do a test run anymore.
No. So now the ultimate thing is to have them be able to test drive it on their own, and then come back and make the decision. So they'll put a down payment down. They get a certain amount of time allotted where they can test drive, whether it be a day or two, and then they come back and they make the final purchase.
Got it. So is the car sitting somewhere and they have to go and like do a lockbox to get the key?
Yep.
Got it. So the platform, they go onto the platform, type in the kind of car they want, they put the deposit down.
Yep.
They say, okay, this is where your car is located.
Yep.
You go and key in the code to get your key. You test drive it, you decide I want it, and then you go back online and say I'm good.
Correct.
So that's the full customer experience?
Full customer experience.
What did it take to create something like this?
It took a lot. That's why I had to quit my job, because, calling people, it took about a year to call people, to get their buy-in to certain things, to have everything make sense, right? Because this is not a normal process for a dealer, right? The normal process is you go in, right? You test drive with the dealer, and then you fill out all the paperwork. You spend about an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours sitting there waiting for the finance company to thing and all that other stuff. And I was just like, I'm over that. To be quite honest with you, I'm going to be 100. The first and foremost thought process for me was that every single time I had purchased a car, it was one of the most horrible experiences I've ever had. From just feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, to spending half a day, right, just trying to get a car. And then I remember purchasing one car, Ford Turo. The car wasn't the best car, and I wanted them to take it back, and they refused to take it back. And so I had to go through just a whole lot just to even get a decent car. And I thought to myself, this is not the experience I like.
Yeah.
Let me change it. So my hope, the goal, is to make this so that it's an experience that is not only, nicer. It's a more, you have people that are actually now looking forward to purchasing a car, because it's not going to take them the whole day, right? They can do everything online, so it's real convenient, and it's safe. It's safe for both individuals involved.
I love it. That's a very solution-oriented mindset. So we have, first of all, your vision, your purpose of like having a community for young people who are exiting foster care. Then there is this solution. There is this problem solver in you. It's like, listen, number one, this experience cannot be like this. It's not safe for me as a broker. And then two, on the other side of things, I want the customer to have a certain experience. So there's that problem solver as well. And at the same time, there's this project manager side of you who is going your day to day, living your life. Now, if we go back to like your very first job, or the moment you started this last company you were at, LexisNexis, what was Nicole's idea of like how life was supposed to be? What was like your number one focus at that time?
My number one focus was to have 2 children, 2.5 kids, and a husband. And I was actually just thinking about being a full-time mom. Like, I was okay with that. I was okay with just fully taking care of my kids. Probably around 35.
Really?
Yeah.
Between 20 and 35, what were you thinking about at that point?
Just, finishing school, right? Getting a career, and just living life, traveling, all that stuff. And then as I got older, like 35 was probably my starting point. I was like, I want to have a baby. And then when the guy wasn't coming along, I was like, I still want to have a baby. So I did all the processes to get that, and it just wasn't in God's plan. You
were going to do like in vitro on your own? Gotcha.
On my own.
So I'm envisioning like you're this successful corporate professional who's like literally you're killing the game. Like you are INDEP. You are that woman, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where you're 30, 35 and you're like, okay, now I want a family, now I want a husband. And as much as you try to do it yourself, you're like, it's not in God's plan. So what was in God's plan? Because eventually you do have a significant other now, but like, what was it like for you to go through the process of deciding, okay, I'm gonna have my own family for myself?
Yeah, it was difficult. It really was. It was difficult accepting the fact that I wasn't going to have children. It was difficult accepting the fact that I wasn't married, because, you know, I work with, I had done a thing with Bryn, a challenge with Bryn, and one of the things that really stuck out was the should-haves, where you should be right now, right? I struggled with that for a long time. You know, and then it just, I don't know, it was just one day. He just said, I just heard him say, yeah, this is, if I put you in the situation of being a mother and a wife, you would have made that your world, right? You would have made sure that, because anything that I do, I put my all into it. It's 100. And so he was like, but I have another plan for you. So I couldn't have put you in that situation. You wouldn't have been able to hear me, heed me, and you probably wouldn't be able to do what I need for you to do. So that was when I heard that, I was like, okay, I have to accept that. And now I just have to push forward and do what I need to do.
Yeah. You said it was hard, it was difficult. I think a lot of people struggle with trying to control things.
Yes.
Wanting to let go. If you could take us to the moment where you're 35, are you at LexisNexis at this time?
Am I? I think so. 7 years? No, not yet. At this point, I think I just started doing contracting work because, you know, I was working at a small company, and we left from there. We got acquired from LexisNexis. I left LexisNexis and decided I doubled my income by doing contract work. And so during the time I was doing contract work, met a wonderful set of people, you know, made some really good friends. And it was during that time that I was like, okay, I want to be a mom. Mom first before anything else. I want to be a mom. Yeah. Right? And it, you know, but that process was very difficult. And it was very difficult because I was doing it by myself. It was very lonely. My family were very close, but my family's in Florida. My family's in Toronto. So it's just me doing this. And my good friends really rallied around me and was there for me as best as they could be. But it just was not an easy process at all. And so to come to this point now, I feel like I have really grown.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're dealing with this personal experience, you're on the other side still having to maintain your career. And in the process, you doubled your salary. So like, what was it like to have to split your personal life, your struggles? What was it like to live both, whether it was a balance or a split, to be both a professional woman and also working on building your own family? You know, it was, I don't know if I ever really split them out, to be quite honest. Like, you know, it was just like, okay, so I got to wake up and go to work. Okay. And when it came time for me to do in vitro, I took time off. And, you know, and did the process. I mean, when I say I did the process, I saved my eggs, I did all of that. And, you know, and then because a lot of the friends that I made were at work, you know, it just kind of like, you know, morphed, I guess. So I don't think I really had a good balance with it. It was just, you know, everything just kind of came together, right? It just kind of morphed into whatever it morphed into. I got you. So you were in contract work, and so in project management, I'm also trying to understand the interest. Like, what did you go to college for?
Business.
Really?
Business entrepreneurship.
Oh, business and entrepreneurship, because you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Always.
Did you know at any point what part of business was your zhuzh, between like marketing, the numbers?
No, ma'am. Did not.
What would you say it is now?
I think now my part of business is I'm a big picture thinker, right? So I come up with a whole lot of ideas, and it's putting it in place. Like the book that we were reading, we should all be millionaires. The one thing that stuck out to me in that book, if nothing more, she said, I'm not a good executor. I'm not a good executor. but I can get things done. And what I mean by that is when it comes time, I have so much ideas in my head. I want them all to be done, right? And so what I end up doing is doing a whole lot of stuff. Nothing gets done. So the book, The One Thing, has really helped me to do that, because now I'm just like, trust me, Ariel, I've got a whole bunch of things up in the air, balls everywhere. But now I'm just like, this needs to be done. We need to put a stake in the sand, and it needs to be done, right? And that's where my project manager kicks in, because I'm like, you know what you need to do in order to get from A to B. A project needs to be completed. It's not a project if it's not. So now I just take everything and I'm like, this is a project. Let me take it and finish it.
Yeah. It sounds like you give it a deadline. A lot of times when there are balls up in the air, that means there's no deadline, there's no urgency to get it done. So once you pull it down and you say, this is what we're going to do, what's your process? Do you create like a plan, or how do you?
Yes. So, it's like you got to do your steps and figure out what needs to be done. Make your lists, right? What can you do? What do you need somebody else to do, right? And so that's where I'm at now. And I've hired a coach, Javante.
Nice.
Like, I'm telling you, this community.
Yes.
Child, please. So, and he is awesome. Like, he's just starting off, but it feels like he's been doing this for a long time. So that's my plug. Javante. Let's go.
Javante and Bryn. So for you, when it comes to coaching, and sometimes it takes for us to just identify the person who's going to help us get to where we want to go. What would you say is that number one thing that you had to overcome in order to get to where you want to go?
Just being still, right? Because as I mentioned, I got a whole lot of things in the fire, whole lot. And so even I'm sure if you spoke to him, he'd be like, she's a hot mess sometimes. Because when we sit down and talk, like my first coach was Donnie. Donnie Wiggins. Yeah. Remember, I was making 6 figures, so money was
coming. Yes.
And Donnie is amazing.
Amazing.
Okay. But Donnie was like, you spending too much money. Like, you really you throwing away like cash like it's nothing. You need to take a step back. And I was like, absolutely, you are absolutely right. And it hurt me to have to be like, okay, well, so you're my first step back. I took my step back with Donnie, but I know that I needed a coach. And so gradually I was like, okay, what does this person have that I need? What does this person have that I need? Javante was so well-spoken, and he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And so I said, let me take a chance. And really great chance. I really am very happy. And I'm going back to Donnie. I told her that. I said, I'm going to go back, but I'm just not ready yet to do, because you need to, in Donnie's space, Donnie is, you see her on the morning meetup, I promise you, she is everything and then some when it comes to her being on one-on-one and in a group. Yes. She's not playing. She doesn't play around. So, you can't just be out here on these streets thinking that, okay, well, maybe. No, she doesn't do maybes.
Absolutely not. And the thing about it is, the one thing that I love about her, she teaches people how to think like a winner.
Yes.
Right?
100.
How to be a winner on the inside and outside, how to live, how to become.
Yep.
Right? And the money part, like you said, is super. If you listen to what that woman has to say, you will not be led astray. You just got to, like you said, be ready to heed the call, right? So in your journey, you've decided what works for you and what doesn't, right? And then you said to be still. That's the challenge for you right now. And you're working through it in your current coaching process. So what are some of the things right now, when you think about the motivation, because it's different when you're in corporate, right? Motivation to go to work is a little bit different than when you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Kind of got to get up and tell yourself what to do.
Every day.
You sound a little disgusted right there.
Oh, Lord.
Talk about it.
Well, because oftentimes you want to tell yourself sleep in. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? You ain't got nothing to do today, right? Or you want to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I know I have to research this or do that, or, and I don't want to do it. And it can be challenging to fight yourself. I feel like I'm fighting myself. Like I got 2 people, and every day there's sometimes it's an easier struggle than others. Like sometimes it's just like, I'm not listening to you at all today, right? But then there's that other time where it's like, I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's good for me, but
I don't want to today. Like, I just want to relax today. And this person is like, yeah, you should. This person's like, no, you got to get things done today,
Absolutely.
sis. You have to get it done.
And you got to listen to that voice more than you don't. It's like Pinocchio. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he didn't.
He doesn't.
But when it comes to like creating a steady, like security, right? Going back to that point of security, do you have a practice or a routine that you do regularly that keeps you grounded and keeps you listening to the good voice versus the other voice?
So I wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock. I read, I meditate, I pray, and I visualize. And with those things, they really help me to focus. So when I get into this mindset of not having enough, my gratitude journal tells me that you have more than enough, right? Mm-hmm. When I get into the idea of, well, you're not where you're supposed to be, my vision is what keeps me. And so if I can just see it and know that I can achieve it. My affirmations tell me, you are enough. You are good enough. You're powerful. So I go through every morning, because if I don't, I find my days just kind of like shift to where they don't want to go to.
Did you have a practice when you're still at your 9 to 5?
Mm-mm. My 9 to 5, I just got up and did what they told me to do. Mm-hmm. Right? It was just like, I started meditating in my 9 to 5, but it wasn't as necessary as it is now for me. Like for me now, it's like breathing. Mm-hmm. Right? When I don't do it, not that you don't breathe, but when I don't meditate.
But if you're not breathing, that's probably going to create some stress.
Okay. And when I don't meditate, it creates stress. Mm-hmm. Right? It creates like this anxiety. Meditation is just so, it just gets you into a right headspace. Right? So between that and just realizing what is most important, because it's all about perspective, mm-hmm. just realizing what you have and not necessarily focus on what you don't have. It's everything.
I love it. The other difference between like when we are working in our cubicle versus like, well, even as project manager, because depending on what part of the business you're in, you may or may not have to report on revenue numbers, yes. Right? And a lot of times when you're leaving a project management type of role or a specialist type of role and going into entrepreneurship, a lot of things that I help my clients with is identifying what their revenue generating activity is.
Yep.
Now that you've been in entrepreneurship for about a year now, mm-hmm. what have you identified like are your activities that are one, non-revenue generating and revenue generating?
So revenue generating is definitely my dealership license. You can do so much with it, right? And so I've figured out ways where revenue will be, selling cars and helping people to buy cars. Mm-hmm. Those are the two things that I, from my platform, I had to pivot because I was like, okay, you need money, right? So you buy one car and you sell it, you can make $4,000 or $5,000, right? Easy, just from profit. Mm. So I'm learning. I haven't mastered it yet, but I'm learning how to choose the right car, sell the right car, because cars are not difficult to sell. Yeah. You just have to find the right one.
Once you have the car. So what are the daily activities that one person who was following your footsteps, what are the daily activities that someone would have to do in order to get to that successful sale?
Oof. So first you have to think about the car that you want to purchase, right? Do your research with that. So know that there's reliable cars out there, the reliable cars, the Honda, the Toyota, those type of cars where you know that they're solid, right? If you want to start off there. Make sure that the car is got good mileage, because that's really very important, right? The car's got low mileage, no accidents, minimum owners. Those are the type of things that you want to look for when you're saying, okay, I'm going to buy my first car and sell it. And then you want to make sure that you get the right platform once you sell it. So first of all, you have to figure out how you're going to purchase it, right? Mm-hmm. Me as a dealer, I go through an auction. So I purchase my cars through auctions. Once I get the car in, then I need to decide, well, what's wrong with it? Because oftentimes if you buy a car through an auction, it's a hit or miss sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm. You can get a car from like Louisiana back when they had the Katrina.
So, and that you need to make sure that if you're purchasing a car, you need to, do your due diligence, plug it in, see what codes come up, make sure that, if they need tires, how many tires do you need? What's that going to cost? If it needs a battery, if it needs an engine, like I just had to change a transmission in one car, right? That sent me back $3,000. Those things you need to know going in, right? But I only spent $4,000 on the car. So going in, you're setting up yourself to say, okay, these are the things that need to be done. These are the things that this is a budget that I'm going to need to create for myself in order to get this car to get to a point where I can sell it. And then how much profit do I make after I've determined that? So I have a spreadsheet of possibilities. What's the most I can sell this car for? What's the least I can sell this car for, right? And then you find the right platforms, because not every car can be sold on one platform. Like you can, like I have a Jaguar right now that I'm trying to sell. It's not selling on Facebook.
Okay.
Right? You got to go to the place where the people are at that'll buy the Jaguar.
The Jaguars.
Right? So you have to do your due diligence to figure out where those places are, and then, sell the car.
Okay, so it sounds like the transaction, the car transaction, is that revenue. That's that revenue, point of revenue.
Yes.
But then leading up to it, it's going to auctions, it's research, it's like the maintenance piece of it, and then if you do all of that, you get the big cash cow.
Yes. The reward.
I think that a lot of times that is probably one of the biggest things that I have to get folks to start thinking through. Because if you're not going to an auction regularly, then you're not going to get the car at the end.
Exactly.
If you're not researching regularly, then you're not going to get the car at the end.
Right.
But many people will look at you and they'll get caught up in that one point of revenue without thinking about all the work that it takes to make it happen.
That's where my project management skills come in, right? Because you have to think about all the work that it takes to get to the end of the project. You got to lay it all out. You got to make sure that you budget, and you get the right people, and you do the right process in order to get the end result. So being a project manager was an excellent skill. It really was. And I tell people all the time that project management is not a job, it's a lifestyle. Once you leave out of there, the skill set that you gain from it, you take it with you.
Absolutely. Do you think that as a project manager, now that, in your personal life, right, and as an entrepreneur, it's going to have to be more of who you are? What are some of the skills that you've had to ramp up on, right, that you didn't necessarily have to worry about before?
Time management.
Because you had a project manager. Yeah, you had a product manager. You had a manager. I'm sure you had developers and things, right? You said time management. Time management, organization. Because you have to be organized as a project manager, but there's certain things that are put in place, especially with LexisNexis. There were certain things put in place that would force you to be organized, right? Because if you weren't, then your project would go asunder. So you had those things in place to help you to be organized. But when you don't have those things in place, now you've got to learn how to reprogram yourself to be organized. So for me, just simple things like making sure my desk is clean before I go to bed. Because if I wake up and my desk is array, that whole day is spent trying to clean the desk up because I can't work without a clean desk. Talk about non-revenue generating. But by the end of the day, you still feel like, ooh, my desk is clean.
It's clean.
The day is over.
That's just something simple like that. So, it's and then the planning part of it, right? Because it's crazy. Everything about project management is planning. But it's planning that project, right? Now I got to ramp up my planning skills because it's no longer in a box, right? You have a set process that you follow, right? Some things are gonna be out of place, but for the most part, there's a process. You do 1 through 2 through 3, and you get to 10. And being an entrepreneur, you got to create that, or else you will be at 10, and then you go back to 2, and then you start at 1 again, and then you go back to 3, then you go ahead to 11.
Right. Come on, preach.
So now it's just I gotta create that box sometimes. Sometimes it's not possible, right? But for the most part, that box of planning needs to be ramped up for me.
100%. I got you. You said project management is a lifestyle, And one of the things that I think about for you specifically is like when it comes to giving back to younger people and even motherhood, I oftentimes think about it myself, like, what would I pass on? You know what I mean? Like, what are those things that I would pass on? And I honestly think that entrepreneurship in a way is like having your own baby and literally nurturing it to walk, and then eventually to crawl, and eventually to walk and have its own legs and spread its wings. What of yourself, like when you think about you pouring into your business and pouring into even the future young people that are going to be in your community, what's the one thing that you're proud to pour into individuals?
What do I pour in? I would say I think at the end of the day, my ability to love unconditional, I think is what I would like to say. I give everything, right? And sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy for me to give everything, but once I'm in, that's it. I'm in. Mm-hmm. And so between that and having that loyalty, right, to whatever it is that I'm doing, like for the kids, I will be loyal to the end. Like I'll be one of those moms that's just like, it doesn't matter what you do, I am still going to be here and I'm still going to love you regardless, because that's just how I felt my mom raised me, my dad. They just were like, yeah, I'm going to love you regardless. And so I feel like that's what I could pour into a child and into my business. Like it doesn't matter how much or what legs you take, you're still my baby and I am still going to love you, even when you expand out to be like so many other people's,
baby.
It's still mine. I created it and I built it, and it's amazing, and I'm just so proud of it. And so that's how I feel. I'll feel when I see kids, grow up to be, good people and able to do well in their society. I feel like I'll be able to feel like, yeah, you're something that I saw and I loved, and now go and be great.
Yeah. Where do you see Chrome in the next 5 to 10 years?
I see it sold, and I see me making millions. Mm-hmm. But until then, because I always, with Chrome, I always thought that, I can bring it to a certain place, but I don't know if I can take it to billionaire status. Mm-hmm. I might, but I don't know. But I do see it being sold and me making millions as a result of the sale. And then that million, taking it and making my community.
Got you. So you envision the community starting in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But before then, I would love to meet people that can help me see my vision clear and plain. Because right now it's like, I got something in the back of my mind, but I want to see like the streets and what they're going to look like, and the building and what it's going to look like. And so I'm looking for somebody.
Who, not how, right?
Who, not how.
Now we just put it out in the air. You guys are listening. If there's somebody who is like, I know exactly all I need to do is extract the vision, put it down on paper, erect the models, and then allow you to have something to motivate you to continue to make Chrome millions.
Yes.
To continue to become the mother that you are and the mentor that you are, right? Like the person that you are that's pouring into these things to make it better. And then, And then invest so that you can actually create the thing.
Yes.
I love it. Step by step.
Step by step. Oprah is she is the epiphany of what I would like to see myself become. Because I feel like she took her millions or billions and she poured it into children that needed it.
Yeah. Speaking of mentorship and guidance, who would you say that person is for you over the course of your years?
She actually passed. And so I think for me now, it's just trying to find that person that I can really connect with and build, based off of what their knowledge is and what I can bring to them as well. But
who was the she? She
was my manager at LexisNexis. We knew each other for such a short period of time, but she was such an impact in my life that it was amazing. Like she was the person that I said, that's who I want to become. Like, she just took me under her wing and said, come on, and taught me everything, and just was just so there for me, you know. And I knew if she was still alive, she would be all over this Chrome situation, all over it. Like, she's one of those individuals that's just like, I would say, I want to do this, and she'd be like, okay. And she'd be looking stuff up, and we got to do this, and we got to do that, and we, you know, and it's just, I miss her dearly, but she was definitely, when I think about a mentor, I think about her.
Was she still at the company when you started Chrome and when you left the company?
She passed before that happened.
What would you say, like, what effect would you say her passing had on you deciding to leave the company?
That was a huge effect, because I was like, she was a person that poured everything into what she had, and when she was going through what she was going through, she was still working so hard. And I just remember saying to her, you need to just rest. But she just was so invested in the company, because that's just who she was. And I thought to myself, I can be invested that way as well, but it needs to be for me. It needs to be something that I've built, not something that somebody else has built and is making billions off of, and I'm getting a certain percentage of it. It needs to be all me. And so I was like, you know, health-wise, being an entrepreneur, I can dictate how my health is taken care of. Like, when you're working a 9 to 5, you get lunch, you get breakfast, you get dinner. If I decide, hey, today I want to eat 3-4 times a day and I want to go walking, I don't have to ask anybody to do that. I can go. If I need to go to the gym, just take some time out and go to the gym. If I decide today I am just going to relax, I can do that. Or I can say, today I'm working hard, and I take my weekend, but I make my decisions now, right? I dictate how my life goes from here.
Yeah. It sounds like, though, it had your mentor not... had her presence not been missed, right? Then you probably still would have been succeeding as a corporate professional even then. What do you think life would be like if you had stayed, and if you had kind of gone up? Would you have gone up the ranks? Did you see yourself like being a consultant? What was that going to be like? Yeah,
I would have probably ran up the ranks, because before I left, I'd gotten promoted. And so for the longest time, I was like, yeah, I need to be director. And then after a while, I was like, why? Like, this is not your calling, so why, right? And so after a while, like when I started Chrome, I was working at LexisNexis, and so I just thought to myself, okay, yeah, I've gotten the promotion, and I'm very grateful for it, and I'm going to utilize it to the best of my ability, but this is not where I need to be. At the end of the day, it's just not where I need to be. Yeah. Right? And so I think my mind just shifted from it. It was like, yeah, it would be great if I could have managed people, even though I was managing them already, but, you know, having that title, you know, and then it was just like, yeah, no, that's not what I need.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about the day you decided to leave, you were talking about like how you were going to spend your time, what you wanted to build, all of the cool things around it, right?
Yes.
But you were also talking about how you were going to miss your coworkers and things like that. So how have you been managing like the relationship side of things now that you're no longer going to lunch with the same people, working around the same people?
Yeah.
How are you managing the relationship side of the transition?
It's interesting that you said that, because I just saw a couple of my coworkers last night. We had dinner.
Nice.
Yeah, I try to keep in contact with as many people as I can. Just call, check in, see how everybody's doing, you know. But my best friends are my sisters and my brothers. I'm grateful that I have such a big family, right? My best friend is my significant other. So it's like, you know, they're missed, right? My coworkers are definitely missed, because our director really created a really family-oriented type of environment for us, and so it was really great working with those individuals. So you know how sometimes you have a very toxic work area where you just don't want to be there because everybody's just backbiting or whatever. It just wasn't like that. And, you know, so I was grateful to be in that type of environment where I felt like I could pour into somebody and there was always somebody pouring into me, right? And so I do miss that, but I still try to keep in contact with as many people as I can. And I have my best friend of 30 some odd years, and my
what?
Yeah.
30 something odd years you've been you're friends with the same person?
Same person. It's been,
that's goals. People talk about marriages, a friendship that lasts that long.
Child, yeah. and you know, we have our differences, but at the end of the day, she's my sister now. She's family, right? So it's not even like, it's nothing that I can't, there's nothing I can't tell her. There's nothing we can't talk about. It's just, she's just family now.
Yeah.
We know too much about each other to, you know, to make it anything less than that.
You had mentioned leadership development earlier. And I think that like navigating friendships is the same as navigating partnerships. It's the same as navigating your partners in project management. What's one of those leadership qualities that you most realize you're working on now as an entrepreneur that you didn't have to worry about before?
Ooh. Darn, Ariel, you get some good questions. What? I think for me, the leadership portion of it that I'm working on now is learning how to truly be a leader. Here's what I mean by that. When I have to hire somebody, right? Like I just hired a VA. I have to learn how to delegate, right? So I hired 2 VAs and ended up doing a lot of the stuff on my own. That's not proper leadership. Right? So I learned, as a project manager, I learned how to respect people. I learned how to get people to do what I need them to do. I learned how to do so many other things. But when it came to delegating and taking your hands off of some stuff, using your who, right? And giving them proper direction, nope.
Okay.
So that is what I'm definitely mastering now. Like I'm learning how to tell them what I want, right? And actually give them the ability to do what it is I said that I want. And if they didn't, going back to say, no, this is not what I wanted, I need you to fix this, right? That's definitely something that I am now, you know, enhancing.
Yeah, I resonate with that. And the leadership part of like delegation is giving good guidance.
Yes.
I think that's a level of like, you know, trial and error. I'm like, oh, maybe I did not communicate what I was supposed to say properly, which even still requires us to take ownership as leaders.
Yes. Because
before I would see, you know, getting frustrated or getting mad because you didn't do the thing that I said.
Yes.
But in actuality, it could have actually been me.
And that's exactly what I told my significant other, because he was like, you know, I hear so many people talking about VAs and how they don't work out and stuff. And I was like, nah, I got to take the L on this one for real, because had I said, this is what I wanted, I probably would have gotten it.
Whew. That's a lesson. That is an anthill of a lesson if I never heard one.
Right? Yeah. Because, I mean, they're not mind readers. They need to know direction, right? And so a lot of times we go into this VA situation thinking that they're supposed to know. They're just supposed to know.
Or try to hand off every single thing on the first day, like, hey, you do it.
Yeah, because I don't want to do it. You do it.
Yes, but what I've realized is a unintentional consequence of other people who see that we've left our jobs and they want to do it is that, okay, I don't want to have a boss. I fired my boss.
Yes.
Well, then you become a boss.
Yes.
And then you become a bad boss.
Yes.
Because now you're passing off all this stuff onto a VA and you never, learn how to be a leader.
Yes.
And you're still not open to that same growth.
There you go.
Girl.
But then you start blaming the VA.
Listen, and the cycle continues. You're going to be firing your VA right after you fired your
Left,
boss.
right, and center.
Child.
Left, right, and center.
I really enjoy getting to know you a little bit. There's so much more in store. One, I cannot wait to see Chrome and see where that goes.
Yes.
And then also, you know, your journey as you start to build out this community. Now, I know it's 5 or 10 years out, but you can get started in ways. We could talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am definitely ready to start.
All right. So there's someone right now who is thinking about, like, you know, taking the leap, right? They don't necessarily know why or what to do, right? But they know that they're destined for more, right? Yes. They might be comfortable, trying to get a little bit of guidance, need a little word of wisdom. And I would love for you to share your word of wisdom for someone who needs to move forward.
Word of wisdom. The one thing that I'll say is believe in yourself before you do anything else. You have to believe that you're capable, that at the end of the day, you stay steadfast to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, Because there's going to be days, man, where you're just like questioning yourself left, right, and center. Did I do the right thing? Should I have not? You know, leaving a 6-figure job, man, really? And every day I have to remind myself that this is what you wanted to do, right? And you're going to do it. So just allow yourself to be great, right? Because nobody else will do it for you. I promise you. There's going to be people telling you, you crazy. You shouldn't have did that. Like, you know, left, right, and center. They're just coming at you like darts.
Yeah, better listen. Those of you guys who are listening and those of you guys who are watching, I think that is really, really great advice. One, starting to believe in yourself before you move. But then also shutting out those naysayers who look at you like...
Yep, they're noise.
Noise. Thank you so much for saying that, Nicole.
They're noise.
I can't wait to document more of your journey as you continue to get year after year after year of more experience, and corporate goals becomes further and further and further in the rearview mirror. Your growth is going to be amazing. But until next time. Oh, before we get up out of here, there's somebody who wants to connect with you. Now, I know we talked about social media.
Yes.
A little bit before we started this conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
So, like, what is the best way for someone to get in contact, to reach out to you?
So the name of my company, not my portal, but my company is CSH Ventures. And so you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, and just connect with me. Like, you know, follow me, I'll follow you, and just see my growth. Because I'm trying to do big things, not too many things at one time, but I'm definitely trying to make things happen. So that's where you can follow me.
Let's go. Do what you got to do. Continue to watch her grow, because one, there's not a lot of black women in the tech space, and this platform, Chrome's, is going to take a storm. All of us by storm. So. Yeah. Thank you again, guys, for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, peace out.